This video is brought to you by John Robson Guitar Tuition. If you enjoy the content, please consider supporting the channel by enrolling on a course, purchasing some guitar lessons or a t-shirt, or you can join my Patreon. Now, on with the show. Hello chaps, welcome once again to John Robson Guitar Tuition. As always, I do hope you're well. Okay, it's Friday, so we're having another one of these Friday blethering sessions. Blethering, in case you don't know, is a term in these parts for just having a chat or talking or whatever. And yeah, it's been a while since I did a video where I answer your questions, and there's been a few more questions, well, a lot more, have landed in my inbox of late, so I thought I'd catch up on all of that sort of stuff. Rather than reading out all of the individual emails that I've had, I just thought I'd condense them down into the top 5 topics that I'm being asked about in recent weeks and months, and give you my answers and my thoughts on matters arising from those. So, here we go.
Chappers, hero or villain?
Okay, I guess this is a controversial one, or has the potential to be. I'm not particularly well informed on this topic. I do know that there has been quite a bit of controversy about Rob Chapman online of late. I believe, and this is just what I'm hearing second-hand, I believe that there's been like a sort of polemic-style video posted about the guy, and then his fans jumped to his defence, and then his detractors weighed in, and, you know, insults and brickbats and mudslinging from one side to the other, back and forth, ensued. What do I know about Rob Chapman? Well, he's an incredibly accomplished guitar player from what I've seen, which admittedly isn't a lot. You know, he's also a successful businessman. I don't tend to watch his videos because, as I say, the style of music that certainly I've seen him playing is that high gain, drop tune, twiddly, shreddy, modern metal stuff, which just doesn't appeal to me. So those aren't the type of videos that I tend to watch. But the whole furore over it, I mean, yes, I haven't really watched any of the videos concerning this, but because they are guitar related, they do tend to crop up in my YouTube feed. So these are the things that I scroll past, if you see what I mean. And even scrolling past, you do see the video titles, and I'm sure I've seen on a couple of occasions the word bully being bandied around. Now, I don't know if this is true or not. I don't know Rob Chapman. I've never met the lad, and I'm not likely to, because we don't move in the same sort of circles. So, you know, I'm not going to make any kind of comments about whether this person or that person is a good person or a bad person. You know, I don't know. I've never met, I've never met the guy. And, you know, as for his business dealings, I have no knowledge of that either. And, you know, to be honest, this whole sort of name-calling and mudslinging and insults between people on two opposing sides of any debate, it's just, life's too short. You know, it's not something that I have any appetite for. It's not what I go online for. It's not what I go on YouTube to be a spectator of. And therefore, I have very little knowledge of it, and I have no informed opinion on this whole recent furore. Frankly, you might as well be asking me whether or not I think Manchester City United are any good at playing football, or cricket, as it's sometimes called. Next.
Vox Tone Lab, why are you still using it? It's ancient.
So am I, in case you hadn't noticed. I don't know, it gives me the guitar sounds that I like and that I need and that I use on a daily basis, and it works. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. I'm happy with its performance, and I don't see any reason to change it. Yeah, so there you go. That's as simple as that, really. You know, why change when you're happy with what you've got? and there you have it. That's why I use the Vox Tone Lab. I've tried other amp modelers over the years, like pretty much every incarnation of the Line 6 pod, none of which I could really get a sound out of that I liked. I had a loan years ago, about 10 years ago now, of the Fractal Axe-FX, which was fantastic, but, you know, overkill for what I need. And, you know, was it really worth that amount of investment? Well, I didn't think so. So, you know, I didn't, I had the option to buy it and I just thought, nah. How I got the sounds that I get from the Tone Lab was basically my last good amp that I had was the Marshall 6101 combo, the 30th anniversary combo, which was a beautiful sounding amp. But it was about as reliable as a politician's promise. Honestly, that thing was in for repair so often I might as well have just given it pocket money. But, you know, it was a beautiful sounding amp. And what I did was I just kind of, not this Tone Lab, but this is the second one that I'm on now. I just A-B'd between the Tone Lab going through my desktop monitors here, and going back and forth between the amp until I got the Tone Lab sounding the same as the amp, and that's just what I've used ever since, really. So yeah, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I'm not in a hurry to upgrade or change to any other piece of kit because I'm happy with the sounds I get from this one. Next.
2020 Epiphones. Any thoughts?
I've never played one as yet. I am putting the feelers out to try and get my hands on one for review, and I'll keep you posted on how that's going. But I think I'll reserve final judgment until I actually get my hands on one and see how it plays and what it sounds like and so on before I offer a final opinion. I watched a couple of reviews, two reviews from the same channel actually, Trogley's Guitar Show, whose opinion I trust on such matters Gibson related. And both examples he road tested, or the ones that I've seen anyway, one was a 50s Les Paul and the other was like a satin finish SG with P90s. And the one thing they both had in common was pretty bad fret jobs, frets that were about as level as a cobbled street, which isn't encouraging. But who knows, maybe they were just a couple of bad ones that slipped through the net. The main thing people seem to be talking about is the redesign of the headstock shape for Epiphone for 2020, where here's the different headstocks. You can see the Gibson headstock there, and then what we'll call the old style Epiphone headstock and the 2020 style. And you can see, if you look closely, that what they've done is they've taken the old style headstock and removed those little kind of cutouts on the top corners, so it's a bit more like a Gibson shape, albeit kind of slimmed down. I'm not big on the history of Gibson and Epiphone guitars. I know that what we're calling the old style Epiphone headstock isn't actually historically the same as what Epiphone have used in the past, but I'm not getting into that. Basically, they've tried to make the 2020 Epiphone headstock look a little bit more Gibson-esque, and I just don't see why they don't just put a Gibson headstock shape on it, to be honest with you. The argument I gather is that, well, they want to keep the exclusivity of having the Gibson headstock on Gibson guitars. And yeah, that is an argument, but, Fender put the same headstock shapes on Squiers as they do on USA Fenders. You buy a Squier Strat, it'll have essentially the same headstock shape as a USA Strat. You buy a PRS SE guitar, it'll have the same headstock shape as the Core guitars made in the USA. I think Gibson could quite easily put a Gibson headstock shape on the Epiphone range without threatening or endangering the exclusivity of the Gibson brand. They already do this on some models. If you get a Gibson, an Epiphone Explorer, it has a model correct headstock shape. So does an Epiphone V. One of my students has an Epiphone V, and it's got the model correct headstock shape. So why they don't do that on a Les Paul, I don't really get it, if I'm honest. It's, to me anyway, I don't mind the Epiphone headstock shape on like a semi-acoustic, because like an Epiphone Dot looks okay with an Epiphone headstock shape, but a Les Paul kind of doesn't, just to my, aesthetically to me. An Epiphone headstock on a Les Paul is a bit like looking at this. It's just wrong. But anyway, that's just my opinion. I'll reserve like final judgment until I've played one. Next.
Why can't I find you on Facebook or Twitter?
Well, that's because I'm not on social media. I used to be on Facebook and Twitter. I came off Twitter a couple of years ago, and Facebook much longer ago than that. I think it was about 6 years ago that I binned Facebook. And it wasn't any momentous decision like, you get certain celebrities who say, I'm giving up social media, and I just found I wasn't using it. I tried it, it was novel for a while, and then it just got to be something that I was reaching for less and less, and in the end I thought, well, why devote any time at all to this? Certainly professionally, it wasn't bringing in any extra customers or any extra money going into the till. So, I thought, well, why am I bothering? So I just quietly packed my bags and left. And it hasn't left a big hole in my life, it has to be said. So there you go. That's why you can't find me on Facebook or Twitter. Next.
Do you think string gauge affects tone?
Yes, I do, but not perhaps in the way that you mean. I'm sure we've all seen the recent videos. I think Rick Beato did one, and there was one a few years ago, a couple of years maybe, Phil McKnight doing these Billy Gibbons 7-gauge string challenge. And, the outcome of those videos was very much that in terms of the sound that you hear when you go from a set of 10s to a set of 7s, whatever, you don't really hear much of a perceivable difference, especially once you get a bit of gain happening and you put that guitar sound into a mix with other instruments around it. There's negligible, if any, difference at all. But that's only half the story. Can we agree that how a guitar feels affects how you play? And string gauge is a big factor in how the guitar feels. And how you play a guitar affects the tone that you're going to get out of it. For instance, a Telecaster, I always find on a Tele that, in order to get a full-blooded, full-throttle Telecaster sound out of it, you need to kind of dig in a little bit and give it a bit of grunt. And I feel inhibited doing that on light gauge strings because of tuning stability. And back when I used to use back in the 80s, when I used to use 8-gauge strings, I was breaking strings that was snapping like straw all the time. I couldn't get through a gig without breaking at least one string. So now I've worked my way via 9s up to a set of 10s. I can't remember the last time I broke a string. And I dig in and I play a lot harder, especially on guitars that reward you for doing that, like a Telecaster. And I'm happier with the sound as a result. So string gauge affects the feel affects how you play, and how you play affects the tone, is my opinion of it. And, well, feel free to have your own, but that's just my experience. And that's pretty much it for today, folks. I hope you've enjoyed the video. Hope you found it entertaining and informative in some small way. And if you have, please hit the subscribe button and the notification bell, and give me a like while you're at it. And if you want to support the channel, then why not consider becoming a patron? $3 a month, loads of things that you get in return for that. Details down below in the description box, along with a link to my Patreon page. And as I say, that's it for today, folks. I hope you've enjoyed it. And it's Friday, so I've got an appointment with a fridge full of beer and a curry. I'll see you next time, folks. Thanks for watching.